Hello, good evening, happy Friday, happy payday. It's payday Friday. I hope everybody's doing all right. We are now live here in Global TV Network, also in our page, Dr. Josephine Grace Rojo, and also Good People TV. If you are watching this in your homes while traveling or outside, just like where we are right now, I'm actually with my siblings. So we have Andrew here. And sana si Mabi? Sana si Mabi? Ay, Viva lang. No, other side, Mami. Go to the other. Yes, there, mirror. And also Angel, Sans Angel. Yeah. Okay, so we are live here in, what's this place? Coffee Corner. So this place is owned by our friend Mark. Hello, if he is watching. Also, Tita, if you are watching, we are here po in Coffee Corner in Ninth Street, Ninth Lacson Street, Bacolod City. So today our topic is about intermittent fasting. If you have any questions, you are free to ask them. And before we start, since there's no question yet, we would greet our beloved friends and families. Maria Lourdes, good evening. Anne Marie, Sue Shak from Misamis Oriental, Darlene Dioso, Fe de la Cruz, good afternoon. Thank you so much for watching. If you are watching this, you may share this with your family and friends. So, our topic, since we are mostly preparing and promoting low carb nutrition and at the same time intermittent fasting, I think the last 2 days, Mondays and Wednesdays, we were promoting low carb nutrition, all the topics, all the questions pertaining to low carb nutrition. But right now, we are going to focus more on intermittent fasting. So, as you know, intermittent fasting is simply, in other words, it's also what we call as TRE or time restricted eating. So, you divide a day into two windows. So, one window would be about fasting window wherein you don't consume anything with calories, while the other time of the day it will be like your eating window. So, the very basic, the shortest intermittent fasting would be 12-12 or 12 hours of fasting and then 12 hours of eating. But actually, it may sound so rigid for beginners, but for pro fasters or long term fasters, you can actually feel that 12-12 is already too much. So before, we also started low, but eventually we easily adapted and we realized that it's really just normal. It's really just part of human nature to eat less than fast in a day. So right now, just this afternoon, I think I broke my 25-hour fast. So, and I felt okay. So that's my other brother, Alvin. You know Alvin? They can see you from the mirror. Hello. So yeah, tomorrow for our masterclass, we will see you, all of our participants. It's going to be our last day, but don't worry. I think we will do some special meet up in order for us to meet and greet, because in our masterclass, although it's a 6 hour Saturday for 4 Saturdays, that's 4 weeks actually, 4 Saturdays of 6 hours full of learning, and we hardly have enough time to cover everything, but we made sure that we cover everything from low carb, fasting, and this coming Saturday, tomorrow, we will discuss about the diseases of civilizations that is related to nutrition, because majority of our illness today actually are just related to altered metabolism, dysfunctional problems when it comes to our body, and that is directly related to our food intake. So, hello, Fe de la Cruz, Sonny Barrios, Mary Chris, Gina de Guzman Meneses, good evening, and to my family daw, good evening daw. Sabi ni Gina, Angelica Ann, good evening, Rowena, Romeo E. Braca from Dubai. We love Dubai. Rain Bautista, Anime, Hazel Jean from Siargao. Alam mo, it's been a while. Gustong-gusto na sana namin mag-Siargao, but pandemic happened. But the moment it's open, I think Siargao is one of our first on the list na kailangan talaga naming puntahan, di ba? Siargao, Babina? Siargao? Siargao. We will do Siargao. So I hope to see you there, Hazel, Michelle, Angeline White. Good afternoon. Aljun, good evening. I hope you're okay. Criselda Canoman, Mendoza from Digos, Davao del Sur. Xavier, hello, Xavier. Thank you so much for asking. I hope you are doing well as well. And I'm actually doing good. I'm doing all right this afternoon, and we are preparing for tomorrow's last day of our LCF masterclass. So, Jonelita Rodriguez, thank you for tagging Emily. Charlene Gift from Cebu. I love Cebu. Cebu is my second home. Jam Michael, good evening. Mary Chris from Carabawan, Mayantok, Tarlac. And Misamis, Aljun is tagging Sue's shop from if asa daw kasi Misamis. Ichiro Shimizu from Japan. Oh, you have a lot of friends coming from Japan. Janelita, Tagalog, please. As much as I want to speak Tagalog, we also have international audience that are actually looking and watching our episodes. So, but I believe Filipinos are very, very well versed with English, even if we cannot speak it that fluently. But our understanding, our comprehension, our capacity to understand Tagalog English rather is actually way way better than most non-English speaking countries. So I'm sure you can do it. Filma, hello. Togoloan. Inday Jean Garutay, good afternoon. Earth Angel, I'm usually on the night shift. Okay lang po ba matulog ako after shift? Meaning the following day na hindi ko makain? Of course, the worst thing that you can actually do is to eat more and then have less sleep. So it's important also and having not so much food intake and ample amount of sleep that can do you good. So for those of you who are not into intentional intermittent fasting but have tried sleeping on a very very full stomach, usually when you wake up you won't feel that good. But as compared, of course, to you sleeping light with almost empty stomach or not having a heavy dinner, you will really realize that the moment you wake up, you will actually feel way better, lighter as compared to to sleeping in full. Xavier de Souza, I'll be coming to Bacolod City soon. Wow, we will tour you around. Let us know when you're coming. Charlene Gift, ano ba masuggest nyo sa fasting para sa beginners? Thank you po. So for those who are beginners when it comes to fasting, it's important that you remember to not force yourself if you're not yet ready. So part of that is being knowledgeable, being aware of the basic of fasting. So you can start actually with just 12 hours. So with 12 hours fasting, say for example, you start with counting your dinner. So, what time do you usually have your dinner? So, say for example, you have your dinner since we actually promote circadian fasting. So, circadian fasting is having your last meal before sundown. So, say for example, your last bite of dinner is around 6 in the evening. So, by morning, if you can sleep on it, it would be better. But if you're already awake, say for some reasons like work, you're already awake by 6 o'clock and you want to have breakfast, then you can do so. By that time, you are already fasting for 12 hours. But in no time, you can easily adjust. And if you can adjust into fasting for until 8 in the morning, so that's already 14 hours of fasting. And if you can try to be busy, like do everything that you need to do, all of your necessary tasks. Say for example, your work, your to-do list, you do it in the morning. By 10 o'clock, you're already fasting for 16 hours, and that's already good. And if you can even move slowly, again, don't force yourself if you're not yet ready. You can just have breakfast and lunch all together. So that's going to be brunch. And if you're going to eat your first meal or brunch comes 12 noon, so that's already 18 hours of fasting. So that's actually already our ideal fasting period, especially if you are still beginning when it comes to your goals, when it comes to your health. weight or whatever health goals that you have. So 18:6 circadian fasting could be a good schedule to maintain. At least make it the general fasting schedule that you can stick on. And then, as what we said, it's also good to have a mix and match of your fasting schedule. Like if you have an 18:6 circadian rhythm most times of the week, like 4 to 5 times a week, and then you can just have one once a week that you can have it shorter. Say, for example, a weekend with family. So you can actually have a shorter fasting window of just around 16 hours or even 14 hours if you want to, their celebration. And then you can also try to pull off a longer fasting period, like 20 hours, 22, or even 24 if you can. But the slowly and surely steady way is a good thing. So what I have here is iced coffee. So inom tayo. While I'm watching, I'll read other questions, okay? So, pampawala ng peklat sa knee, arm, nagka-rashes po ako, may itim na peklat. When it comes to your healing, you better make sure that you don't have any problem with your sugar. Because having a high sugar actually can impair wound healing and that can lead to darkening. So, maitim na peklat, so that's a dark scarring. So that could be a telltale signs of you having sugar problems. So, but if you are sure, then it's good. But if you are unsure, I suggest you get your laboratories taken. You can check your fasting blood sugar or your HbA1c. So for regular people, HbA1c is actually a good thing so that you can check your average glucose control for the last 3 months. So other home remedies that you want, there are actually other um, medicines or ointment that are used to lighten scars. But if you want home remedies, anything oily. So we have, I think one of the most common is sebo de macho by its name, sebo, so it's oil. So any oil-based any oil base that's found in your home can actually help in making scarring better and heal faster. So that could be butter, certain oil, and even other creams that are oil based. So that can help when it comes to healing. But primarily, you have to make sure that your healing is brought about by good sugar control because having a poor blood sugar control can really lead to poor wound healing. So that could just be a symptom of an even serious problem. So we have to make sure that it's not a serious problem, okay? Hello, Myra Mira from Texas. Celia Patage, hello. And Anime from Valenzuela. Michelle Francisco Reyes. Mayong gabi. Cruz Erda. We have Xiao Buan. So we have how many hours of fasting po activates autophagy and stem cell? May possibility po ba ma-heal yung Achilles tendonitis? So fasting's number one or most immediate impact is actually lowering of inflammation in the body and everything that is ending in itis, so itis, so Achilles tendonitis is actually just about inflammation. So yes, possibly that can be healed, but if ever there's already debilitation, like you can no longer walk, better to consult your doctor first because it to rule out emergency cases. Okay, so we have autophagy actually is activated after 24 hours of fasting generally. But if you are already into low carb nutrition, autophagy can be activated more, even earlier. And to be technically correct about it, autophagy is happening in our body even if we are not fasting. It's just that the more important kind of autophagic process, the ones that is designed for healing, the ones that are affected by our aging, and of course functions in our body, like say for example in our eyes, our brain functioning. Those are better seen after 24 hours of fasting. Okay, so Mary Chris has question. So what is the best food to take to break a 16:8 IF? So what is important whenever we break a fast, that's the more important thing here is just to avoid anything that is insulin spiking. Why do we need to avoid foods that spikes our insulin? Because after fasting, our body is actually quite more sensitive to insulin. And eating a high sugar, insulin spiking food can lead to some degree of refeeding syndrome. If you look it up, refeeding syndrome can be dangerous. That is a lethal, yes, it could be a deadly result of fasting, but it only happens on prolonged fasting. But even in short term fasting, there can be some degree of refeeding syndrome, and that could be swelling, that could be lightheadedness, that could be even syncope or fainting if you break it with the wrong things. That is the sugary, especially processed food. So if you can already eat foods that are non-processed, natural, and low glycemic index food, all the better. Okay. So Hazel Ann, welcome advance to Siargao Island. Thank you, Marie from Hong Kong. We have a lot of friends in Hong Kong. So we have Myra Miranda from Australia, and also we have April Palacio. Domingo, Doc, desiccated coconut allowed po ba? Yes, but it's important on what you will pair up with your desiccated coconut. Don't ever cook desiccated coconut that is related to what's that? Condensed milk. Okay, so sorry for that. So Sydney Elaine, hello, good afternoon. And of course, we have Sonny Barrios from Batanes. Janice Markov, I enjoy listening to your insight. Thank you for that. Good evening to you, Janice Markov. Pami de la Cruz from Paranaque. And Venus De Leon from La Union. Hello. And Sydney from Davao City. And of course, we have Gilbert Salvador, one of our very active members of Low Carb Feasting and Fasting Community. And also, we have a part of our masterclass. So, Rosemary Villa from Milan, Italy. And sana tayo. Maybelline from Taiwan. More than 3 weeks na ako nag-fasting. 18.6, that's good. Pwede ko ba itong ituloy? Of course. Iba, wala itutoy, wala naman akong kakaibang nararamdaman. And ako, mataba, okay lang po ba, Doc? Yes, of course. Okay? So, wala. So, pardon my, I think I've smelled something. Parang na-activate yung allergies ko. I don't know. It's a new place. So, we hope we're doing all right as long as we know as allergic. I actually have a pediatric consultant before when we're doing our rounds, and then she suddenly sneezed, and then all of us were stunned, and he just told me, "Oh, don't worry, it's not infectious. It's just allergy." So, parang wala kaming magagawa. We just have to accept that it's allergy. And that's the time before COVID. So, right now, if you are seeing people with signs of that, you can no longer be sure if it's just allergy or what. Okay? But this one, I felt good a while ago. Just this time, parang may kung anong ano lang dito sa corner na to. Okay? Janelita. So we have Aljun always. Na as lang almost 2 months na ako IF from 18 to 14. Ga-cramps na lagi ko pagka morning tapos medyo gabi hud until unsay kulang doc na supplement ako magnesium mag potassium tabs. Try to if you are following our water intake. So maybe you are taking less of it. Try to increase more of your water intake because cramping isn't it just about supplements when it comes to electrolytes. Even water actually can lead to cramping if you are dehydrated. So dehydration is not just necessarily coming from electrolytes, but it could also come from water. So try to increase your water intake more. Okay. Maria Resurrection from KSA, Biel Bakay from Cyprus. Wow. So ZL, Mayong Gabi, Lynn from Dulag Leyte, Laarni, good evening. So Anna May from South Cotabato. Elizabeth Escobar, bit late, not feeling well. I hope you feel better soon. Hydrate more and rest. And if ever you decide to fast, remember fasting is best paired with resting. Don't ever force yourself to do anything. Okay? Celine Garcia, my idol in long fasting and all about LC. Thank God. Thank you, Celine. margin. How about for night shift person? So for those with night shift, as long as it's your regular schedule, eventually your body can adjust into having an overall different circadian rhythm. But what is the problem is when you are night shift this week and then comes another week you're on day shift or your afternoon shift, so your circadian rhythm is actually becoming more dysfunctional. I really feel that we can help this, we can avoid a lot of illness if the HR in many companies can actually try to improve your schedule, that is limiting the changes of work schedule, to also try to help have our workers have a better working schedule and not so disrupted circadian rhythm. And for those who feel that like they are not getting the necessary sleep and rest that they need, better consult your doctor because they can give you some help when it comes to improving your sleeping pattern. Okay, so Kinako, good evening. Jelly, hello. Mask lang, okay lang. I'm with my family naman ngayon, malapit sa akin. But so, okay lang. Wala akong mask kasi ayaw daw ng mga nanonood na nakamask. So, hindi tayo magmamask. Anyway, this is just a small place, somewhat like a private place. So, thank you so much, Maybelline. No, it's just not. Kinako, about GERD, doc. So, what about GERD? So, it was discussed thoroughly in our masterclass that we actually don't need to fear going into low carb and fasting when we have GERD. Even more importantly, we even have experiences that people with GERD are healing when it comes to fasting and also doing low carb nutrition, because the most important thing that you will have to know about GERD is that it is not because of lack of food, but it's because of wrong food choices. And the wrong food choices, the more inflammatory the foods are, the more likely it is that the person will have GERD, hyperacidity, and even gastric ulcers. It's been tested many times and been shown many times by those who had GERD before low carb, and they were actually even better. They've had better tolerance when it comes to coffee, the usual food that we thought are having worsening GERD symptoms. In fact, now that they're into low carb, they can now take black coffee on an empty stomach and they don't have any problem about it. It's because they already limited the foods that are inflammatory in the first place. So, what are these foods? So, we have sugar, we have breads, too much rice, too much fruits, even, and the worst kind of fruits are those that are extracted. So that is the high fructose corn syrup. So those are the sweeteners that is used in making our fraps, in making our blended coffees, in making our milk teas, and all of those baked products, because it's very very cheap, yet it's very very sweet, and it's so sweet that it could be so addicting. There's even one group that I just saw one time, and they said the advice of the low carb practitioner there, that if it tastes so good, you have to spit it out. So it's very, very contrary to what we believe in. That if it's yummy, we have to take it in. But there is this idea that it tastes so good, you don't need you have to avoid it, because it's either too good to be true, or it could be way addicting, and anything too much, if you don't have the necessary control to control or limit your intake, it could lead to addiction and a vicious cycle of dependency until it is no longer handled well by your body. And that can lead to the many problems that we have today: diabetes, hypertension, high blood cholesterol, and many more. And GERD could be just one of the very basic symptom of that manifestation. So GERD, for those of you who are not well aware, GERD is just an abbreviation of gastroesophageal reflux disease. So by its name, gastro, stomach, esophagus, esophageal, esophagus, so our throat, and reflux. So there's an acid that's coming from our stomach and then going up to our esophagus and even up to our throat. And that's causing a problem when it has a chest pain, accompanied with chest pain and acid taste in your throat. And one of its other name actually is heartburn because it feels like your heart is really burning. So it could be that painful. So GERD is also known as heartburn when it comes to symptomatology. Okay. Ella Marie Luz from Hong Kong. Jenny Monton from Iloilo. 2 years na into strict LC. For first year, pero nag-dirty. LC, itong first year. Sometimes strict, tas fasting din, dry fast or liquid fast. Usual meal, OMAD, TMAD. This past 4 months, napasobra ng pag-take ng carb treats. Is it possible? Yun naman ang naging cause ng pagtaas ng BP. Only you can say, but definitely based on your story, there's a high possibility that it could really be the cause. So, before kasi, maintenance ako, pero natigil ko na po yun nung nag-okay pakiramdam ko. Dahil nag-take naman ako ng carbs since December. So, one of the most important thing that we have to consider whenever we have already illness, especially that sometimes we tend to be complacent, to relax, thinking that we've been into this way of life for so long, and thinking that we can already go around the rules, but our body, our biochemistry stays the same, and the things that made you sick before will still be the things that can make you sick again if ever you choose to go back in the safe in the same lifestyle. So what was that? So, Charlene Gibbs, thank you sa pag-notice. Welcome, of course. We will, as long as we can see it. But we are already quite high in the number, so maybe we cannot finish it all, but we will try. Dorotea from Dasmariñas, Cavite, thank you. So, Sonny Gabiano from Doha, Qatar. Des Pilapil. Qatar yung, ay hindi, Abu Dhabi yun. We weren't able to go to Qatar, no? When we went there. Just Abu Dhabi. Okay. So, Des Pilapil, kaka-palaboratory ko lang po. Lahat po okay result. Congratulations! Let's celebrate with LC foods. Low carb foods pa din. Never celebrate a victory with high carb foods, okay? Because it's not a treat. But as what they say, it's a threat. So be careful always when you do your celebration. So, Maria Lourdes Nilo, Doc, why I eat healthy food and avoid those food which contain sugar, but my sugar level is still high? What should I do? Please advise. So for this, we have to look into how healthy do you think are your foods? Because if you've been following our page, we are actually somewhat debunking the common knowledge when it comes to what is healthy and what is not healthy. So we have to quantify and make sure that what you really have is really healthy foods. Otherwise, you might be taking hidden sugar. So I will like to show you how pretty is this cup. So this is a black coffee. This is actually what I ordered. Plain black coffee, but with ice. But since my ice is no longer here, meron pa ba? So, eto muna. Okay. Ay, thank you. Yeah, let's put ice here. So, question, Melanie, Eileen, watching from Silang, Cavite. Melanie, when I tried keto a few years ago, incorrectly, I noticed some of my nails have deep horizontal grooves and ridges. That indicates malnutrition. So anything that is not normal could be an indication of not really overall malnutrition, but just a specific nutritional deficiency. So our nails can are mostly related to proteins, and not just proteins, but B vitamins and all the vitamins that we can actually get from proteins. So sometimes the problem with people doing keto the wrong way is that they are focusing only on the macronutrients, just the fat content or the carb content, and not minding the nutrient density of each food. So the problem is that they're so focused on making sure that they are into ketosis, but actually going into starvation period. And that's something that we want to avoid, okay? So what we advocate is nutrient dense, low carb diet, okay? Low carb to a point. that you shouldn't really increase your blood sugar level, not more than 120 milligrams per dl, even if after eating. Okay, so the students of our master class tomorrow will be able to know how to compute exactly how each carbohydrate can actually affect the person's blood sugar level, and how to safely address whatever goals that they have by checking their blood sugar. So it's going to be a very, very good discussion tomorrow on diabetes, high blood pressure, and all the other illnesses that are directly linked to insulin resistance. So I'm so excited to see you, although it's a bittersweet experience knowing that it's going to be our official last day of the class. But let's make it as memorable as possible by learning as much as we can. So Vanji, hello, Jonalyn Flores. Doc, ang rice, mga rice na with low GI and no sugar daw, binebenta online. So there are so many things that will give you the push to buy those, because it's somewhat something like a wish come true. A rice that is low glycemic index. But mind you, low glycemic index is considered low if it's 50% less the impact of the sugar, of the glucose, to when taken in our body. But 50% of impact of sugar is still very high. 50% is somewhat, to give you the idea, those are foods that are somewhat 50-50. If it's 50, 100 grams, 50 of that will be sugar or starch. And that is still very high. We consider a food that low carb when for every 100 grams or 100 ml, the net carbs is just 5 grams. Okay? So anything more than that could already be moderate or already high carb. So even if it's low glycemic index, but in terms of low carb nutrition, that is still high. If you are not into low carb, of course you can take those. You can eat those even, and you can buy those if you want. But just don't ever label yourself as eating low carb when you eat those. Just eat those, okay? But don't ever do commit the mistake of saying that you are into low carb simply because you are eating low glycemic index food. That's totally different. Okay? Juliet Carillo Freak, nakahabol after work. Wow, thank you so much. It's already Friday, payday, holiday pa tomorrow for those who are usually working every Saturday. So we are in a coffee shop, so medyo magulo lang, but I hope our audio is still audible for you guys. So Mylene, hello, Angelica. Okay po ba isabay 1 tablespoon of ACV to 1 cup of electrolytes? Of course. So ACV is 0 calorie, and it even has small amount of potassium. So that's good. So with our electrolytes, you can mix it with water, and the things that you can mix with your electrolyte water that won't break your fast would include black coffee, plain teas, ACV vinegar, even other herbs and spices like cinnamon, what else? Turmeric, ginger, if you want. And we have here in our locality glutamate flour. So that's a glutamate tea, or also what we call as butterfly pea. Okay, butterfly pea flour. So, Jonalyn, yung mga rice, yes, yung mga nasa Shopee, Lazada. Sorry, that would still be high carb for those who are low carbers. It may be low GI, but it is still high in carbohydrates. Not in Tambayanihan. It's a different cafe. It's a cafe of our friend. Also a very supportive part of Tambayanihan, and also one of your classmates in LCF Masterclass. I'm glad that you're here, Flo. No work ba tomorrow in Japan? Does Japan celebrate Labor Day? Labor Day is just Philippine.
No.
All over the
International.
international. So I hope you don't have work tomorrow so that you can attend with our last day live. Although it doesn't matter if you're watching the masterclass live or replay. There's even some degree of advantage when you're watching it on a replay, because you are able to pause or push the pause button when you feel like I'm speaking too fast, and that's okay. Okay, Michelle Apit, Constantino from Jensen. May hypothyroidism ako pero sa low carb diet na food list, andun po ang lettuce and cabbage. Okay po ba akong kain yan? So even if I'm not into low carb before, and I was practicing already ENT, so my subspecialty is ENT, head and neck surgery, and part of that we operate and we do attend to patients with thyroid problems. So the common notion that eating those are goitrogenic is only true if you're eating truckloads, if you're really eating so much of those foods. But otherwise, it won't lead to goiter formation right there and then. What destroyed your thyroid in the first place is you were eating foods that are very poor in nutrition. So, say for example, rice. You are very, very fond of eating rice. Rice is actually not very nutritious. It's just made of carbs, fiber, and sugar. Okay, but it doesn't have B vitamins. It might have trace elements, but whenever we say trace, that's almost negligible. What we are looking into are really good amounts of essential vitamins: vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin K. So all of those are really, really important. And seldom you can find that in starchy foods like rice, bread, potato, even wheat. Okay, they might have some degree of proteins, but not the kind of protein like in beef, in red meat that is full of nutrients. So hypothyroidism and thyroid problems usually results from poor nutrition, too much calories but less in nutrients. So you have to emphasize and you have to clarify that to yourself that calories is not equal to nutrients, okay? Nutrients, vitamins, minerals, electrolytes, okay? But calories alone, it's just the energy that we can actually live with very less, especially that we still have store fat, stored energy in our body. Okay? So we have Jonalyn. Hi. And Marjun, night shift? Yes, I always night shift, so that's good. So you can actually have your own sleep hygiene schedule. So sleep hygiene is like the routine that you do every day, every night, so that you can follow a roughly somewhat regular circadian rhythm. So we have Micah Salgua from Pagadian. And how do you, Jelvin Arce? Hi, Doc. Do you know Coach Dave Aguila po? Yes, we are actually acquainted. And actually, Coach Dave also got some copies of our books. Those are still Philippine printed books. So, somewhat hindi na yan ginagawa ngayon. So, if you want to have a copy of our books that are Philippine prints, you can actually send a message. Also, his wife, Madam Beshi. So that's Ma'am Ara Aguila. I think she's the one handling that since Dave Aguila is currently now very busy with other matters. Hello, Sir Ani. And we have Judith and Rojo Marquez, Doc Grace and Pam. See, Sugar. So Sugar is our cousin actually. Cousin, no? Sugar. Pangalan niya lang yun. So that's just her name, Sugar, because we actually live in a sugar milling company. Our family, our tito, tita, lolo, lola are actually CTOs. Yes, sugar. Sugar Central. Sugar capital of the Philippines before, they said, in the 70s or 80s. Number two largest milling company in Asia. Largest sugar milling company in Asia. Okay. So, hi Doc. Since I follow LC Group, I gain a lot of tips. Akala ko I gain a lot of weight. Mo problema sana ako. I gain a lot of tips to lose weight. Thank you po. At sa taong nag-invite sa akin to follow, Jean from Zamboanga City. Hello, thank you so much. So invite more of your family and friends. But if they are really not so open-minded and medyo contradictory, wag na lang kasi baka awayan nila ang other members natin doon. So, Inday Jean Garutay, my mom is type what? Type 2 diabetic. April, her blood glucose 368. And ayaw niya magpa-hospital. So I made a deal with her to do a low carb since she won't go to the hospital no matter what. Every day monitored. Glucose down to 211 doing LC. Hope as time goes by it will go down even more. And hopefully our class for tomorrow that is mostly dedicated to lowering sugar. So diabetes, I believe, is just one of the symptoms of insulin resistance. that we have to maximize by knowing what to do. And I hope you can better coach her after our tomorrow's class. So, Arvale, okay lang po ba Indian mango once in a while? Ilan po ang allowed? TY so much. So just one piece of Indian mango will have about 5 gram net carb. So if you can put that in your budget, so better. I think Angel is very happy that one piece of Indian mango raw, green, no, yung batang-bata pa talaga will have the least amount of sugar. So, Jonalyn, no, nasagot na yan. Corazon, Mascarenas, bravo. Tumaas yung result ng sugar test strip taken ng umaga. Example, 180. Ibig ba sabihin nun na parami ang kain ng carb, napakakain ng high carbs, or normal lang yun sa umaga? No. It depends on how high. So, or how early, because sugar monitoring can have a dawn phenomenon. So dawn phenomenon, your body is naturally producing so much sugar in the morning, early in the morning. So pwedeng ano yan, pwedeng confounding variable yan. Hello, good evening. Thank you. So early in the evening, early dawn. So I hope that is something na makakaano natin. You can adjust, but yes, early morning high sugar control can mean that you've either eaten too much last night, or eaten too much carbohydrate, or eaten so late. Okay? Or it could be that you are under stress, because there is such a thing as stress hyperglycemia. When your body is under stress, it is producing more glucose than usual. Okay? So try to avoid stress. Yung stress kasi, it's either you can do something about it, or you can't do something about it. Either way, you have to deal with it. So if you have nothing, if you can't do anything about it, just let it go. Para no stress. If you can do something about it, then do something about it, and then let it go. Okay? So point is, let it go. Good Eve. Pwede bang kumain ng water apple or tambis? So we have a list of that, of fruits. So usually the fruits can have a lot of sugar or fructose, but we can of course accommodate. A piece, one or two is okay. Okay. So hello, hello. So, Danica San Diego sa Avedra. Hello, Doc. I need to take metformin 3 times a day because of PCOS. Can I do fasting? For those who are taking medications, better to have consultation first to avoid risk of like what we call as hypoglycemia or too low of blood sugar. Okay? So, Melia, hindi naman ako diabetic, pero one time, bumaba blood sugar ko ng 62, sweating. Nararamdaman ko, posible ba yun kahit na taon na po ako nag-low carb. So, of course, it can happen. But try to see if something is different during that time. So, is it because you were doing some heavy exercises, physical activity, or even so much stress as well? So that can do that, or other conditions, but I hope you are doing well. Okay? Maria Lourdes, if it's persist, advice again, go see your doctor so that we can rule out more serious causes. So Cedric, Maria Lourdes from Davao. Cedric, 1 month na akong LCIF, kaya lang po nakainom ako ng PrEP. Makakabalik po po ba ako agad sa LC? Of course. So, we are not into like, hindi ka na makakabalik. So, once you've had a somewhat a cheat day, or what we call as planned indulgence, it's actually better if you can go back to low carb and your fasting schedule as soon as possible if you want that effect to not stay for long. Okay? Otherwise, if you will not go back, you can go again to the vicious cycle of being in that sugar dependence mode. So try to go back as soon as you can. And if you want to make the effects like shorter, you can try to fast longer, you can try to sweat it on, you can sweat on it, so do some exercise and some other things that can increase your heart rate, like a coffee, especially if you are not very fond of coffee, that you can have some caffeine intolerance. So coffee is actually like an exercise for me. I'm not an everyday coffee drinker, so whenever I take coffee, like now, I might not be able to sleep as early later. But anyway, it's okay as long as I know I have to do something in preparation for our tomorrow's masterclass. So, Masha Love, fresh milk low fat coffee. So, Masha, I believe you are still new in our page because we actually don't promote anything low fat. Because low fat, usually low fat products are replaced with carbohydrates. So, between low fat and high fat, we'd rather choose high fat as long as it is low carb. But if you can have low fat and low carb at the same time, and as long as it's natural, then it's okay. But what is important here is we notice that it's low carb because it's the carbohydrates that will induce insulin response. Okay, insulin spike in our body. That is something that we try to avoid. Okay, so hi Marikit from Canada, and also regarding matured coconut meats, eto po yung lubi. Yes, of course. So, it can still have some degree of sugar, but try to just minimize it as minimum as possible, okay? So that we make sure that you are not going over your limit. Actually, for me, even if I love coconuts, I think like I have some degree of sensitivity still in general in plant-based because whenever I eat so much of coconut flour, coconut meat products, I can still have some bloating. So now I become more mindful that even those foods I try to minimize. So generally, my food intake whenever I eat, it could be either mostly animal-based foods, or if I do vegetables, I try to do more vegetables and minimal meat, but not so much on heavy meat and heavy vegetables. That's just so hard for me to digest now. So clarification lang. Oh, yes. So Rebecca, hello. Thank you, Melanie. Marikit, how to join masterclass or consult with you. So for those who want to consult, you can message my clinic manager and also my brother, Alvin Chua Rojo. So facebook.com/alvin.rojo.com. Oh, nandyan lang siya. So, ano, yan. Siya yan. Okay, send a message lang for booking. However, do we still have slot for May? Meron pa? Third week of May. Oh, meron pa daw, third week of May. But after that, baka wala na. And we are already closing in. It's already 5:53. Hello. So, Carmela E. Calatrava, when is the next master class? We are still thinking about it. We are planning our team for our next master class, but we will inform you as soon as we have details. For now, we are finishing our first ever masterclass tomorrow. So excited for our graduation. But I think we won't have that much grand of a graduation ceremony because we are actually maximizing our time to really learn our goal learning. Okay? So, Deodato Adamas, good evening. Doing IF 14, 16. I think I don't exceed 50 grams of carbs, but I feel like I'm gaining weight. Are you physically active? Because gaining weight while you're doing it right and you feel good doesn't mean you're actually gaining fats. For all you know, you might be gaining muscles because muscles can weigh heavier than fat. So gaining weight is not all that bad. Okay, so just make sure that you're sticking it. But if you want to stay on the safe side of not gaining weight, especially not gaining fats and just lean body mass, you'd rather want to increase your fasting because if you are still not on your goal weight, 14 to 16 hours is actually not really enough for weight loss purposes. Okay, 16 to 18 hours, yes, or 14 to 16, that could be okay, provided that you're eating not so much on your eating window. You really have to take into portions or sweating it as well. Okay. So Marian, I was diagnosed with PCOS. Which diet should I take? So it will be different from person to person, especially if you have different preferences. What can I advise you is try to join our food group inspiration. So food inspiration group, that is life without rice. Okay? So reply muna ako dito. May tinatawag lang. Okay? Sige. So, had extended fasting 72 hours pero nag-cheat ako after. Sorry na. You don't need to sorry, of course. But the one that will suffer is just you. So, I'm sorry for you that you have to suffer. But don't worry, we've been on that road before. I cannot say that I didn't do that, especially during the first times that I did fasting. We were so excited to fast, and after that, the first longing for food is there. And usually, the worst thing is that you are craving for the junks, the sweets, the sugary foods that are actually not so good. But learning comes eventually, and now I can happily say that I no longer crave that much sweet. Okay, so, Chloe, spring break has started. Wow, 1 week break. That's so good. And that's really, really a good timing for you to attend the last day of our masterclass. Picture tayo. Remind me tomorrow to take a picture because I might forget. Ella Marie Luz, how about konyako noodles? Low carb. Konyako, if it's just konyak or konjac in spelling. So that's still the same as shirataki. So yes, that's low carb. That's like an algae or something from seaweed or gelatin like. So that's good. So promise I'll be there on the live last day. So that's really really good. And of course we have chill racks arriesgado local. So it's important that we are here. So sorry, medyo meron ako na trigger na allergies here. So following you from Lapu-Lapu, Cebu. It's been a while. I think the last time that I've been to Cebu was in Lapu-Lapu. That was January 2020. That's just before lockdown. So me and my friends met there. Joey Cruz, Palawan. When was the last time I've been to Palawan? 2019. I think nagpalawan kami dito. Oh, with my I have doctor friends. They actually couple, Doctors Carl and Riza Dalabahan. They're practicing in Palawan. So they're in Puerto Princesa. And of course, our dear Doc P. Hello. Sunga Lucian, I have insomnia. What should I do to improve my sleeping disorder? So do a sleep hygiene routine. And if you can't, you might need some help from melatonin, but try to consult first to make sure that it's the right dose for you. Hazel Ann, active po ako palagi, yung nag-workout daily, 10 to 30 minutes. Pwede po ba ako kumain minsan ng rice? So it will be up to you. But as I said, carb cycling or intake of high carb meals for those who are doing low carb is actually not that good, especially if your exercise is not high intensity. Okay, so that is more than 4 times a week of high intensity. So, Dr. Sherilyn Elefante from Davao, hello. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in our upcoming convention. So, Liz Villeta doing no rice IF. Sometimes I use quinoa as rice replacement. So it's so up to you, but quinoa is still considered as high carb when it comes to carb intake. So try to minimize. Don't just do the mistake of people who are looking for rice replacement, and eventually what they will see is consuming even more carbohydrates, total carbohydrates, as compared to eating rice. So we are almost time. 1 minute to go. I can fast when working balisong, so mindset is the key. I hope you can read the book soon. And Maria Wilma Hernandez from Kabuyao. So let's choose one. Marvy, our favorite Marvy Ramos Marte. Lately, I tend to eat sweets. Why? And high carb. Not feeling good talaga. In effect, feeling weak, dizzy, and stomach bloats. Kaya back to LC again. It's okay. We've been on that road before. Sabi nga ni Dr. Berg, sometimes we really have to experience high carb food again just so we remind ourselves how bad it makes us feel. And by then, hopefully, we learn our lessons and try to stick with our low carb meals as much as we can. So that's it for today. I'll see you again on Monday for another episode of What's Up Doc Live Q&A. And I'm not sure. We will have a special guest comes Monday. We will have Marty Kendall, an Australian nutritionist and an engineer who made his way into engineering our way to health and nutrition. So I hope you get ready because he's really an amazing person, amazing guy who was able to do all of this because of his wife who has type 1 diabetes and now being controlling it, reversing it through dietary requirements only. So I'll see you guys. Thank you so much. Always remember to fast as long as you can. And if you should decide to eat, try to eat low carb so that we will all stay safe. Maraming salamat po. Bye-bye. Thank you. Blakey Vic. Hello. Bye-bye, everyone. Melanie, Luella, Masha, Melia, and sino ba ba? Inday Garuta, of course, Gian, Joey, Lish, and Rosel. Thank you. Salamat po. Bye-bye.